On Monday, the 10th of April, welcome to the Open Output Podcast. My name is Adam, and let's see what happened over the weekend. There's been a growing concern that US tech is involved helping Russia in the war in Ukraine. MSI suffers a cyber attack. Devs on six figures refuse to go back to the office. Stadia's project lead finally leaves Google. Xbox disables Nintendo emulation, and Destiny devs admit that they missed the mark on the last expansion. All of this coming up next. As the situation in Ukraine continues to unfold, there has been growing concern over the role of US tech companies inadvertently assisting Russia. Many of these tech giants, including major social media platforms, cloud service providers, and software devs, have a significant presence in Russia, which raises the question about the potential impact of their services on the crisis. According to an article by Reuters, one of the major concerns in this context is the potential use of US technology for surveillance and data collection by the Russian government. For example, social media platforms can provide vast amounts of user data that can be exploited for surveillance purposes or to target dissidents and protesters. Additionally, cloud services and other software tools could be used to store, process, or analyze data collected by the government. The United States and other countries have imposed sanctions on Russia in response to the crisis in Ukraine. These sanctions include export controls on certain technologies that could be used for military or surveillance purposes. However, the complex nature of global tech makes it challenging to effectively implement and enforce these controls, leaving room for potential loopholes or unintended consequences. As the crisis in Ukraine continues to escalate, US tech companies are facing increased scrutiny and pressure to reevaluate their presence in Russia and the potential ethical implications of their services. Companies may need to reconsider implementing stricter controls on the use of their technology or withdrawing from the Russian market altogether to avoid inadvertently supporting or enabling the government's actions. MSI recently fell victim to a cyber attack that targeted the company's BIOS updates for its motherboards. I should probably check mine. According to the Register, the attackers managed to compromise the BIOS updates, which could potentially allow them to introduce malware or other security threats to the devices running the affected updates. I haven't updated my BIOS in ages. I should be fine. Upon discovering the breach, MSI quickly took action to address the issue. The company removed the compromised BIOS updates from its website and advised users to avoid downloading any BIOS updates from third-party websites. They're working to release new secure updates and recommend users to update their devices as soon as the patched BIOS versions become available. The cyber attack on MSI highlights the potential risks associated with firmware and BIOS updates, which, honestly, is something you don't think about very often. Since these updates are critical for proper functioning of a device, a compromised update could have severe consequences for device security and user privacy. In addition, the attack underscores the need for robust security measures to protect against this type of threat. If you're an MSI user and you've updated recently, it's critical to stay vigilant and maybe go onto the website and download the previous version of the BIOS. The pandemic has significantly changed the way in which we work, with remote work becoming the norm for many employees. As the world slowly recovers, many tech companies have decided to either return to the office or have implemented full-time remote working. However, the return to work transition is not exactly being embraced by everyone. A recent report from Business Insider revealed that a significant number of tech employees would consider quitting their jobs if they're forced to return to the office. The reasons behind this sentiment range from the desire for a work-life balance and flexibility to the dread of micromanagement and a perceived lack of fair compensation. Remote work has offered employees numerous benefits, such as that flexibility, less commuting stress, and a better work-life balance. This new way of working has given many employees a taste of freedom and autonomy that they are pretty much unwilling to give up. Another significant factor driving employees to consider quitting if forced to return to the office is the fear of dealing with micromanaging bosses. Remote work has allowed employees to escape the close scrutiny of managers who might stifle creativity and productivity. Additionally, some workers feel that their salaries do not adequately compensate for the costs and inconveniences associated with working in an office. Employers are now faced with the challenge of adapting to the changing preferences of their workforce. Companies that embrace remote work and offer flexibility may be better positioned to attract and retain top talent. On the other hand, organizations that insist on a full return to the office might risk losing valuable employees and may need to reconsider their policies to stay competitive in the job market. Over to gaming, and it's really the final nail in the coffin for the already dead Google Stadia. Project Head has officially left the company, marking the end of Stadia's journey. Let's take a look at how this once promising platform that I was very fond of met its demise. Stadia was launched back in 2019 as a cloud gaming service that aimed to revolutionize the gaming industry by allowing players to stream games on a wide variety of devices without the need for powerful hardware. However, the platform faced a number of challenges from the start, including latency, a limited library of games, and competition from other cloud gaming services like xCloud and GeForce Now later in its life. Despite Google's efforts to improve Stadia's performance and expand its game library, the platform continued to struggle. In 2021, Google decided to shut down its in-game development studios, signaling a shift of focus away from developing exclusive content. The company then transitioned to offering its cloud gaming technology to other businesses, effectively downsizing its entire ambitions. The recent departure of the project lead, responsible for overseeing Stadia, really is the final blow for the platform. With the project head leaving Google, it's clear that the company has absolutely no plans to touch Stadia again. While Stadia may be officially dead, the future of cloud gaming is still alive with those aforementioned platforms, xCloud and GeForce Now, continuing to grow and innovate in the space. Personally, I've always been in favor of cloud gaming. I really like Stadia, but the small game library and the lack of interest from developers was always going to be a problem for that platform. Microsoft has recently decided to crack down on emulators available on its Xbox consoles, specifically targeting those that enable users to play Nintendo games. Emulators have long been a contentious issue in the gaming industry, as they allow users to play copyrighted games technically without having to purchase the original console or game. And this infringes on the IP rights of developers and organizations. Microsoft's decision to ban Nintendo emulators on Xbox can be attributed to a number of factors. Firstly, the company probably wants to maintain a good relationship with Nintendo and avoid any potential legal issues related to copyright infringement. Additionally, Microsoft wants to focus on promoting its own game library and services like Xbox Game Pass by discouraging the use of third-party emulation. This ban on emulators will undoubtedly have an impact on the gaming community, particularly those that enjoy playing classic Nintendo games on their Xbox consoles, which is actually something that I didn't know about until I saw this article. I would have been doing this for a long time. While some gamers might be disappointed by this decision, it's essential to remember that emulators can sometimes contribute to piracy and undermine the efforts of game developers and publishers. Though a lot of these emulated games are old games. Despite Microsoft's ban, emulation is likely to continue in some form, as there will always be a demand for playing classic games on modern hardware. The gaming industry, however, must find a balance between allowing users to enjoy their favorite titles while respecting the rights and efforts of developers and publishers. And finally, Bungie, the developer behind Destiny 2, has recently admitted that they missed the mark with certain aspects of the Lightfall expansion. While the company didn't go into specific details, they acknowledged the feedback from the game's community and expressed their commitment to making improvements. The Destiny 2 community has voiced their concerns regarding various elements of the Lightfall expansion. Some players have criticized the game's balance, the introduction of new mechanics that seem to clash with the core Destiny experience, and the lack of engaging content. Bungie's acknowledgement of these issues indicates that they're taking the community's feedback seriously and are willing to make the necessary adjustments. In response to the criticism, Bungie's outlined plans to address concerns raised by players. The developer is committed to improving the overall Destiny 2 experience, focusing on better balancing, refining new mechanics, and adding more engaging content to keep players invested in the game. It's always encouraging to see developers like Bungie taking player feedback to heart and working to improve their games. Let's face it, most studios just tend to keep their mouth shut. I enjoy Destiny, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do give it a follow, leave it a review. And if you want to get in touch, you can do so at mailbag@openoutput.co. That's going to do it for today. Catch you tomorrow.